Approval of contract for Dr. Alan Musarino, Assistant Superintendent, Educational Services. Motion, is there a second?
At this point, I have a comment, and that is the comment about the contracts that were out there. So this is just open discussion with the board, just being out there. I got the copies of the contracts, I think, last night. They weren't in the packet. I don't like that kind of form of business that we don't have them in our packets. So I know that that was a clerical error. However, I did have an opportunity to look at it prior to the board meeting. I know that that was not afforded to the community. I am open to wait on it at this time. However, that wouldn't change my decision on any of the votes that I would make tonight. And so I just want to propose that as an option for today, because I think that that was a major clerical error. It's just not acceptable. And I hate the fact that it has to interrupt business as planned, because these gentlemen are working very hard and filling in the gaps and trying to scramble to make sense of this really tragedy that we're in, really, because this affects students' lives. So I don't want to hold it up. I don't want to send a message that we're not appreciative or any of that. But I do want to listen to the community that was here to talk. So it's just an open discussion. If you guys have any comments on that.
I have some comments. I also wanted to ask a couple of questions. I do understand that it was very confusing that the wrong contracts were out there, and I do understand the people's concerns about they're reading the wrong contract and there was some confusion. I don't think that 72-hour that somebody said applied, but it's just a matter of the transparency and having our actions speak louder than words moving forward. I also wanted to know if we could poll for the next meeting if it's not too late. Like you said, Ms. Ramos, I don't think that my decision is going to change, but just because of the transparency issue and the way it happened, I know it was a mistake, but it was a really bad mistake, and it doesn't make us look bad.
Look good. It doesn't make us look good.
Yeah. So,
Mr. President,
Yes,
if
Mr.
I may
Cox.
address it. First of all, the mistake happened on my watch, so I'll take the blame for it. It shouldn't have happened. We had time to get this right, and we didn't, so there's no excuse. Beyond that, the Brown Act violation, there's no violation on this. This is the first time we've actually been required to put contracts out, and I'm not even sure we were required. It was us taking an extra step. We felt like we wanted to show everything that we're doing right now. So we didn't get it done right. No excuses. However, I speak strictly on behalf of Dr. Musarino and Mr. Hacker. I point out that their contracts expire in about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. This is the closest to a contract expiring anyone's ever come. We cannot approve them on a special board meeting. So that means they would be approved within days of their expiration. Literally 1 week from their expiration.
Let me point out an additional item under the existing contracts. There's a 45-day notice requirement, which we're now into, and at least under the terms of their existing contracts, they could roll over their existing contracts, which would effectively increase their take-home pay by $9,600 because each of the assistant superintendents have agreed to forego the car allowance and phone allowance, which was part of their contract. So understand that if you don't approve these contracts, they would effectively have the right just to say, I'm entitled to my agreement as it stands right now for another year. So there are consequences to not acting tonight.
I appreciate that, and I also just, as the way that I feel, don't want to send that message that I'm not supportive. a lot of mistakes have been made and a lot of things have happened, and I'm just open, and I want to make sure that the board has an opportunity to mull over some of the comments that were there. Yeah, I've taken a lot of time in this decision. You know, you've received a lot of the calls. Most of the people here have received the calls in the cabinet. So I've carefully thought out, because I did have the contract last night, to think out what I wanted to do. And so I really do stand by my decision today. It won't make a difference, but again, it's just what the board wants to do, and I'm just affording that opportunity for us to do something different or to go through with it. I'm good either way.
Well,
I'm good either way.
my motion is based on the competency and the professionalism that's been displayed by our assistant soup, so there's no doubt about that. The second thing in mind is the June 30th deadline.
Yes.
But I'm also sensitive to the views of my colleagues, so.
If I may, so our next board meeting is June
10th.
10th.
We were anticipating a special board meeting June 10th.
Oh, it's not in the schedule?
It's June 28th, I think, which would put us
24th.
24th. I'm sorry.
24? And these expire July the 1st?
No, June 30th.
Oh, that'll put us.
I don't
very
appreciate
close.
that kind of business either. You know, like just us
Yeah,
conducting
It
business.
seems like we're put under pressure and we're like, yeah.
Well, you
Well,
can't
special
put it
board
on a
meeting,
special
We can't
meeting.
vote on it, right.
It'll
We'll be
roll
days,
over and then
we'll be days shy of.
I think a lot of this is a lot of the aftermath of the previous administration that was here. And I think that we really have to do, this is one of the conscience-based decisions that we're going to have to make a decision what we think is right. And to me, it's more important to have consistency. You know, again, I had to mull over the idea at first because we didn't have the contract in the packet, and I didn't like that kind of that. But again, Mr. Cox, I'm not blaming you, by the way. I just want to make that very clear. You did absolutely everything possible. You were very candid on the phone and the comments and the drilling and all of that. So this is just clarity. Just leave it at that.
Again, it happened on my watch.
And
Let me,
I think that from my opinion, if I may go ahead and start it, I would propose that we go through. Because in my heart of hearts, I don't want to have, there's not an employee that doesn't want to see Mr. Mercerino here, and I think we just need to start off with that.
Absolutely.
And
I totally agree with that, and, I mean, we did review these contracts, they are pretty, what we want them to be, and I know we went over.
there is in other words, there's a $9,600 cut yearly. That's
Right.
because the stipends are going to be taken out. It's a one-year contract, which was extremely conservative. That's not something that we've done in the last 7 years.
Absolutely.
So I think with those things held, that yes, it's my name going on there, that I'm supporting that we take action tonight.
Can I say something? I don't want to show any ill will either. I mean, I think they've done a great job as well. Like I said, I don't think the decision that I have made myself also will change. I was just concerned with the transparency issue. Like I said, our actions speaking louder than words. I don't know if these contracts are out on the website yet, or can we put them on there? The correct,
Tomorrow.
the correct one? I would really appreciate if we can do that, because that way, when we vote on this, then at least people can go out there and look at it, and, because what was out there, yeah, was definitely.
It'll be out there tomorrow
That
morning.
was-
well, let me just clarify something. The copies that were made available, they were put out on the table in front. That was a mistake, but it didn't reflect what was actually available to the public prior to this meeting.
Not prior, at the meeting.
Sir, you've had your chance, okay? So anyway, I'm just telling you, it was a mistake, but the actual information available about the terms and conditions of these contracts was available to the public. If you look at the Daily Breeze article, which is already on their website, it has the correct information about what was contained in those agreements. That information was available. It was merely a clerical mistake to put a draft instead of the final agreement out there, but it certainly doesn't reflect anything that was available before the public. Okay, so I mean, I know Bob has certainly, accepted the responsibility for what has happened, but in fact, that wasn't. It was merely the different paper that was out there. What was available to the public was the document, the final agreement that you're looking at tonight.
So we are, more comments, we're in agreement, we're moving forward.
So we have a motion by Mr. Ramos, we have a second by Ms. Ramos.
Okay, I motioned. Is there a second?
I second.
Ms. Ramos, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Item PP, approval of contract for Bob Cox, Assistant Superintendent Human Resources. Is there a motion? Motion, Ms. Gonzalez. Is there a second? Second, Ms. Pisano. All in favor, please state aye.
I'm going to make the same comments that Mr. Cox's contract also calls for the deletion of both stipends, which also is a cut of $9,600 a year and is also a yearly contract.
Very well, so noted. All in favor, please state aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item QQ, approval of contract for Ron Hacker, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Motion, is there a second? Second, Ms. Ramos. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
I also note for the record that Mr. Hacker also has a deletion of both stipends, and it is a decrease of $9,600 a year, and he also is on a one-year contract.
Thank you for that clarification, Ms. Ramos. And that's important that the public understands that they voluntarily taking some cuts as well. We do appreciate that. It's a matter of good faith and team effort. Item our approval of contract for Bob Cox, interim superintendent. Is there a motion? Motion, Ms. Pisano. Is there a second? Second, Ms. Gonzalez.
I have comments.
Comment, Ms. Ramos.
Okay, for the record, one of the issues that I had with the agenda is that it said approval of contract. It certainly does look like there's two contracts for Mr. Cox, and I don't like the way that it looks. If you have the addendum to it, it clearly states in the addendum that it's an addendum, that it is not two individual contracts. However, for the record, I just don't like the way it's stated. It really looks like he's going to have two different jobs, and he does have two different jobs, but it's an addendum saying that he is doing the interim, and it's really, again, I had to ask a lot of questions to get to this, and go to Dennis, and I asked a lot of questions, and what it is pay differential, and I think that, again, for the record, for anybody that may not have it, he's on a 10-day. In other words, in 10 days, we can pretty much tell him to go back to HR and that he's no longer interim. It's not a year contract, although it does state on the contract that if it were to go out for a year, that it would be a $20,000 increase on salary. Broken down, it's $85 a day. Differential, that is not anywhere near what Mr. Fernandez was getting. That would add up to $180,000 as opposed to $291 or $7 or whatever Mr. Fernandez's contract was. So this is in no way trying to compare. This is just merely an effort to somewhat compensate for the fact that he's still here at 6 in the morning and now he leaves much later in the evening and he has a much higher profile job. Again, this was something that I had to get lots of information and lots of input, and I grappled with because it just didn't look right on the agenda. But I'm here to state that on the contract itself, it is an addendum. It's an addendum to the contract. It's saying that as effective April 15th, so it is going back to the date that he actually was put in as interim by this board. It also states that he has 10 days prior written notice. As provided in the addendum, we can terminate that contract or the addendum to it stating that he would go back to Human Resources. Again, it's $85 a day differential. There is something that says benefits. The interim superintendent shall be entitled to the benefits as provided in the employment agreement. That means that he gets the same benefits that he got before and every other employee gets. That's the $10,000. So whether you're, janitor or you're the superintendent, you get the same benefits package. And again, please forgive me for taking all of this time, but I think it's really important for anybody that may not have this in front of them. He also has the same benefits that he had. Yeah, no, the